You're listening to Oh My Health, There Is Hope podcast.
When your heart is aching and your world is shaking, don't give up. No, no, don't give up.
Hello and welcome to Oh My Health, There Is Hope. I'm your host, Jana Short, and today I'm here with Amy Boyer Colgan. Amy Boyer Colgan is a local Long Beach, I'm going to try to say this because I think it's such a great new word, multi-potentialite. Did I say it right? Multi-potentialite?
A multi-potentialite, yes.
Yes, with degrees in psychology, criminology, theology. Amy has fueled her passion to assist the least, the last, and the lost. I love this. She believes that success is not the key to happiness. Happiness is the key to success. And if you love what you're doing, you will be as successful as you allow yourself to be. She is also the executive director of Hope Fulfilled International, a community building resource center transforming hopes of the past into dreams of the future. What a great show for today. By the way, I don't know when this will be going live, but just so everybody who's listening knows, it's New Year's Eve.
The end of 2020.
I'm going to ask you to share your story, but I want to just say, I just have to say this because it is the end of 2020. But have you seen that commercial for the dating app where the Satan meets 2020?
No, for Match.com. No, I haven't heard it. I haven't seen it yet, but I've seen a couple people post it, and I'm going to watch it after this.
It's hysterical. Okay, so I am so glad that you're here with us today, Amy. And one of the things we met in Beverly Hills because we were both in a magazine together, and when you told me your story, I like begged you, please come on, and you have to come on and share that. So do you mind sharing your story of hope with us?
Oh, definitely. Well, for me, I battled a lot of ailments in this body for 19 years. It was named everything under the sun, and it was bad. It was really bad. I battled pain 24/7. I had half of my face paralyzed for 2.5 years. I couldn't taste anything for a year and a half. I was at the end of my hope. And in the end of my hope, birthed health. And now I'm on this journey to help pull people out of that abyss, because it is an abyss. And a lot of people can't claw their way out. And my hope is to sit there with as many lines as I possibly can and pull people out, because you can have healing, you can have hope, you can come back from the worst of the worst of the worst. And my heart is to help guide people into that. And that has to do with, one of the big things that helped my whole family was to start on our plant-based journey. Now, I am the person that had to have meat products in every single meal, every single dish. That's who I was. That's how I grew up. And the more that I healed and the more that I understood my body and the more research that I did, I started realizing that I had to create a whole new lifestyle. And I never wanted to feel like I was missing out or my family was missing out. And so I started pushing myself to create new foods that we had never had, because there was so much in going plant-based that was different. And I didn't really have any guides in it. And I watched a lot of YouTube and Instagram posts on different recipes. Oh, nutritional yeast, what is that? Cashews, look at what a cashew can do. And I started growing, and I started, my husband was a boat captain, and he worked long hours. So I would create 2 or 3 dishes for him to take to work. And sooner or later, I started getting calls from people that he worked with. Could you make my lunch and dinners too? And so it started growing, and then I started writing down all the recipes and giving all the recipes, and started photographing them. And now every single meal is a gift. It's a creation, it's art. It is full of life, full of color. Oh, the colors that you can get out of food is incredible. You just sit there, you're like, wow, this is nature. And you start realizing that your body starts to change and it starts to long for new and different foods, foods that bring it life. And I started listening to my body more and more. And that was a lot of the journey. I would eat something and I would wait and watch. How do I feel? Do I want to feel this way? Do I like feeling this way? Could I choose something else to make me feel different? So each meal, I started asking myself these questions. And it has birthed into a cookbook that I'm writing right now. I've started, I want to create every week. I have decided I create 5 new dishes for my family and my friends. And I experiment on everyone and I write them down, and I not only share the food, but I share the recipes as well. And it just keeps growing and it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
I love that story. I love your journey. And Amy actually has some of her, she blessed us with some of her recipes in our fall issue of Best Holistic Life magazine, and they are yummy. We tried them. They're delicious.
Yay.
I have, by the way, I'm that meat girl too. I'm that meat girl that has to have, actually, I only eat red meat maybe twice a month, but I still have to have protein in animal because I'm not educated enough to understand that you can get just as much protein from other things. So for someone like me who I would like to eat better, but my body does need protein. Like it requires it. For me personally, not everybody's body, they think that it requires a lot of protein. It maybe doesn't, but mine does. And I know I don't do soy, and I know which is tofu as well. So I don't do any of that because it's not good for me. What do you tell people as far as keeping their nutrients up? And we feel like when we see someone who's plant-based or vegan, I think in my mind, weakness, sickness, not glowing, thriving. And I don't know why that's stereotyped in my brain, but I'm not the only one. I know there's other people who say the same thing. Oh, they'll get sick. You can't eat like that without getting sick. And it's actually quite the opposite.
It is. Now, there are some things that I've started noticing. There are healthy vegans and there are unhealthy vegans. Just like it all depends. There's a lot of junk food out there that has no plants or that has no animal products in it, but it's still junk food. And one of the things that I started encouraging people was to find 5 different plant proteins that you like. I like this, 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 and this, and incorporate and start experimenting with meals with those. Okay, I know that I do really well with these 3 different types of beans, or I do really well with quinoa. I do really well with spinach. Spinach is a great one. There are so many items out there that have a sufficient amount of protein in them, and it's seeing how your body adapts to those. And again, pick the ones that you like, because there's lists, there's tons of lists. Here are tons and tons of different plant proteins. Nuts are a huge one. I started using cashew cream for everything, and that's where we get a lot of our protein. My son he's 7 and he's been plant-based 4 years now. And he gets a lot of his protein from nuts and beans. And the kid is fast and the kid is strong and he's bright. And he will let you know that he does not want any animal products, because he sees a difference now in his body when he has something and then when he doesn't. And yeah, so that's one of the things that I would suggest, is picking those 5 things that you like and start experimenting with those.
So I also want to clarify what it means to be plant-based, because a lot of people get extremely confused with vegan, right? They think
Yes.
vegans are plant-based because they don't eat meat or animal product. And that's not true. Because as you were saying, Oreo cookies are vegan, and are they good for you? No. Is there any plant-based anything in them? Probably not. So there is a huge difference in what a vegan might eating. They're basically stating a cause. I don't eat animal product. And plant-based is another way of eating, which really isn't a cause. I guess it could be if they're vegan plant-based people. I mean, can you be vegan plant-based? Yeah, I guess you could.
Yeah, you could. I would say that we are vegan plant-based, and we started off plant-based. And the longer that we have been plant-based, the more that we see our role in this world. And we see the cause as well. And our bodies react. We see differently. We see, creation differently, animals differently. And that's been something that's interesting because we never thought we'd be big advocates. And now the more and more research that we do, the more that this has become a part of our lives, the more that we are going into that activist mode because we see the need of it. So I do believe you can be plant-based and vegan and on a journey, because we're all on a journey. I want to leave this world a better place for my son. I want to live here as long as I can in a body that's thriving. And being plant-based vegan is taking us on that journey in that direction.
Wow, I love that you said that, because we all should be thinking that way. Like, we want to leave it better than it was maybe left for us, not that they did a bad thing. It's just we learn as we're going that cars are
Yeah.
polluting, and, we're putting all this ozone layers into the world. Like, we learn as we go, and we're depleting our oceans, and we're depleting, our forests. And so I love that you said that, because it's a beautiful thing going into the new year, is how can we leave 2021 better because of something we've done to make that change. So I love that. I want to talk about how easy it is to be plant-based, because I will tell you, you rarely quit at anything. I'm like a bulldog when I get something in my mind that I'm going to do. And I'm a rule follower. So I read all the rules first, and then I don't vary, because I'm afraid if I start to vary, it's kind of like an alcoholic who's been clean for 5 years, right? They're like, well, it's the holidays. I could have one drink. I've been clean for 5 years. And then they go down that road again. So I try not to ever vary from my plan. But I did plant-based. And for me, and I know it was because I didn't have the education for it, I ended up only eating raw vegetables or steamed, because I don't like overly cooked. Right. And because I have no stomach, raw vegetables and salads are the worst thing for me, because it doesn't process, doesn't absorb, it doesn't break down. But for the normal person, right, I love soup, by the way, but for the normal person, how hard is it becoming, like, how hard is it for them cooking and shopping? And you make it look really simple, but when you started, the very first month you started, how hard was that for you?
I was very blessed. I had a friend who they have 5 kids. They have been plant-based for 20 years. And so she took me to the grocery store. I have taken so many people to the grocery store now for the first time. That was a saver. I had no clue how to shop. And she just went through and said, you need to get that. Make sure you always have that in your pantry. Make sure you have this. And she told me a few shortcuts, and we kind of set up our pantry and our refrigerator so that we could succeed. So we had that mentality. And I thought that when we originally started, every Friday we were going to have, it was going to be our treat day, and we were going to start that and have whatever we wanted to eat on Fridays. We never did the Friday thing. It never ended up coming about, and she encouraged us not to. she said, look, at least give it 3 months. Just give yourself 3 months to acclimate. And so we decided we're going to do this hardcore for 3 months so we could learn. And that helped. But I think the biggest thing was someone going to the grocery store with me, because I've helped probably a dozen people now go to the grocery store and pick out what I would choose now. And I would like to really start teaching a lot more people. And I think it would be great to have some YouTube videos of going around the grocery store. This is how you shop for being plant-based. And another thing is I just wanted to get creative, and I didn't want to get stuck in a rut, because I had been stuck in a rut with everything that I had eaten for 30 plus years. When I started looking at the things that I was eating before, it was pretty basic, and there weren't a lot of meals that I was cooking beforehand. So, which technically meant there wouldn't be a lot of meals for me to cook on this end as well. So there was that mind shift of just encouraging myself and then writing down every day what we can do, and doing it with other people as well. I did it with my husband and my son. So it was the three of us that decided we were going to take this journey together. And that, I don't know if I would have lasted if I didn't have their encouragement and their ear when we would get frustrated. Because I do remember the very first vacation that we went on was tough. We ate almost all fruits, which was wonderful. We were in Mexico and the fruit was absolutely incredible, but I just wanted more than that. But I had no clue how to do that. And so now we actually plan a lot of trips around food, which makes it even more fun. So we'll do the research on where are places that we're going to have killer food and killer meals. And we get excited about what we're going to eat instead of, oh, look at what we're not having. Look at what we can't have. I don't talk in terms of I can't have that. And I teach my son that, because he'll say, oh, I can't have that. I'm like, no, you can have that. But are you choosing to have it, or are you choosing not to? Our choice is so important, and it's so valuable. And we need to understand the power of our choice. And so that's, yeah.
I
That's a
love
little
that you're
bit.
teaching your son that mindset trick to remove that block, because I don't know about you, but when someone told me I couldn't do something, even if I didn't want to do it, I was doing it. So
Uh-huh.
tell your body, I can't have that. It's
Yes.
a million things are like, you seize that barrier, you want to go around. Why can't I have it? I can have a little, right? How much can I have? But if you
Mhm.
say, I don't eat that, your brain starts building this. We just chose not to. We don't eat this. So it's totally a mind trick that actually works, because your mind does what it's told.
Does.
It doesn't tell you what to do. Even though you hear that monkey voice in there, you still have those options. So I love that you're working with that with your child. But I was that person who was basically on vacation but at home. It was either raw vegetables or I didn't even know how to eat a salad, because I started overthinking what if I put dressing on it, right? So I would just eat. If I went to a restaurant, I'll just have a plate of steamed vegetables. Don't put anything on it, just
Yeah.
lightly steamed. And that was all I would eat. And it gets boring.
It gets so boring.
It's really boring to think of a life of nothing like that. Although if I were sick, I would take boring over dad.
Mhm.
So I would be okay with it, which I was. But
Yeah.
how do you make it easier? Like, do you have, I know you have a beautiful website where you place a lot of your incredible recipes, right? Do you
Yes.
have tips for going to the store for first time people who are like really wanting to explore what that looks like for their lives and their health, and have no idea what that means when they go to the store? Because the store is freaking overwhelming, and it's
It
that way
is.
for a reason. They want to make your choices, your choices for you by putting
Yes.
the stuff they want to push at eye level, right? Instead of up on the top or down on the bottom, by putting everything that's good for you pushed against the walls. They want to draw you in, right? And so you have to go there with your list in hand and your plan of attack and your blinders on, except for grabbing what you want, because then you go by the bakery. Oh, that smells good. This, right? So do you have anything like that for us?
I do have some tips. The first one, always have a list. Always make your list. The list saves me every time. I always get a treat for myself when I'm at the store, something that's for me that I really enjoy. So, because it is stressful to plan meals and to do that, and I like to reward myself. So I always know I'm going to get something that's mine as well. The biggest thing that I do, I start in the produce section. I start with the fruits and the vegetables in my cart. It fills up. It looks like you have a lot of food. There's a lot of color in there, and you start losing space for all the stuff that's in the middle of the store and where all the junk food is. And if you have already filled up everything with fruits and vegetables, it's helped me with shopping and with the whole mindset of it as well. And probably 9 times out of 10, I have a checker or someone in the store that comments on my basket, the way that I am shopping, because there is so much color. And I always make sure there are a minimum of 4 different colors in my cart at all times. Because a lot of times, and that what I've seen when I started learning about plant-based cooking, there was a lot of brown foods, especially in vegetarian cooking. And I didn't like that very much. I wanted more color. And so that's what I started. I feel better when I eat more color. And the food is prettier. My plates are prettier. And and you're getting a variety of so many different nutrients that your body just longs for. And we're so gifted and it's such a gift to be able to go into a grocery store and see all that color. I've traveled a lot through the world, and we are unbelievably blessed people with what we have at our fingertips. And going into the store with a heart of gratitude of, wow, look at what I didn't have to turn the land for this. I didn't have to weed or do any of this, and I can go in and get thousands of different options at my disposal at 24 hours a day, is a gift that we should constantly be reminding ourselves of.
I love that. And one of the things that we do when we travel out of the country is the very first day we go to a store because we want to get healthy things that we can carry with us to eat.
Yes.
And every time I go there, I'm blown away at the abundance of choices and options and things that we have in one grocery store here, because you'll have to go to a fish market or here and there's only a few options, and you go to the store, there's like maybe one type of apple and there's maybe 20 of them on the shelf. And so we go and we have like 16 different types of apples, and it's an abundance of them all. So I am totally grateful every time I go into our stores. I know that I want to eat healthier in 2021, which I know everybody right now is thinking that. We want to eat healthier. COVID was really hard, and we tried feeling that stress with foods, and not always the best foods because it was stressful. Growing up, I never ate processed foods because we just weren't allowed those. But it seems like we had more choices when I was a kid. Now I go to the store and almost everything is processed to keep it on the shelves longer, make it available to you. Even the fruits and vegetables. Why are apples lasting 2 months on my countertop, right? There's something wrong.
And why are they so shiny?
Yes, they're shiny.
I go to an apple I go and look at an apple tree and they are not shining on that tree.
No, but you hit a good note by saying make sure foods are colorful, because that's
Yes.
another thing they do is they make it look colorful. I was raised on a dairy, and I grew up on milk from the cow. Literally, they would take the cow's milk, put it in the refrigerator, and we'd pour it through a cheesecloth.
Mhm.
And we'd butcher our cow every year. And I went to college and I got a gallon of milk, and I went to get beef, and it looked so good. And I grabbed a bunch of beef, and I go to the house, and I call my dad. And I'm like, "You're not going to believe this. Something's wrong with our meat. Get mom to throw it out. It's brown." He goes, "They color it. They color your meat in the stores. They want you to have that red, juicy look
Yeah.
to it. It doesn't come like that. It
Mhm.
oxidizes and turns brown." And so they color it with food dyes to make it more appealing to us, so that we see that red, juicy meat and we think it's fresh and hearty. So
Yeah.
what you say about our mind's eye, grabbing those colors and feeling like we're brown if we're only eating brown, but feeling energized, right? If we're bringing in these beautiful colors and it gives us energy, it's really a trick of the mind, but it works.
It is so true.
So I want to end this on you sharing maybe a couple of easy things that we can do, maybe 2 or 3 steps we can do because I want to get started in 2021. And if I can find a great source of protein that my body will absorb, I'm all in. But what are some easy steps so they're not sitting at their table eating steamed vegetables? Oh, I knew the trick about quinoa. I love quinoa. But then when I cooked it, I was using chicken stock, which is not plant-based. And I didn't realize I was doing something wrong. But what are a couple easy tricks that we can do to get started?
Well, a great, easy recipe that is protein, that you can make it sweet or savory, is a cashew cream. And all you have to do, you need 3 ingredients. But you need cashews, a little bit of salt, and lemon and water. That's what I would suggest for those. And if you want a quick version, you boil water and pour it over the cashews, and you let it sit there for an hour and just sit in its water, and then you drain it. You add the juice from a half a lemon and a little bit of salt, and fill it up with water so that the water is filled to the top of where the cashews are, and you blend that up. And that is your cashew cream. If you want to make it sweet, add a little bit of agave and serve that with fruit, with strawberries, dipping that sweet cashew cream. Add a bunch of basil in there, and you have a basil one. You can add a roasted pepper. You have a roasted pepper, and it's protein packed. You can use it as a dip. You can take a sweet potato, you roast that, and you dump that on top of it. It's as easy as that. So that's a great staple that we always have in our house. And I just make jars of it because it's hardly any ingredients.
It's 4 ingredients.
Yeah.
That's
It's
it.
so easy. The
Wow.
first time, and people are shocked because you can dress it up, or just have it plain. It's
Wow.
so good.
Is it kind of like, and I don't mean the taste wise, but is it kind of the texture of like tahini?
No, it all depends on the type of blender that you have and how long you've allowed the cashews to soak. So it's great if you don't have a high-powered blender, then just dump some water over the cashews and let them soak for at least 8 hours. And then you'll get a really creamy cashew cream. And then depending on the consistency that you want it all has to do with how much water you put in it. So if you want it to be a little bit thinner, add a little bit more water. If you want it to be a little thicker, more like a cream cheese, then you add a little less water. And that's
I'm
all.
trying that. I'm trying it this weekend because I love cashews.
Mm-hmm.
I eat cashew yogurt because I don't do dairy, but it is delicious.
Yeah. So that's one that I would suggest. And then what's another one? Well, I love as a dessert, I love using dried fruits and nuts. So I love to add, if you had walnuts, almonds, put those in the food processor, blend those up with some dates. Dates are great to have on hand because it gives you a little sugar boost as well without the, lovely sugar. And they taste great. Kids love them. And so I always love to blend those up. If you have a sweet tooth and have little chocolate chips, you can put those in there, and then you just ball those up. You can add cocoa powder if you'd like. There's different superfood powders like the blue spirulina. That's fun because then you can turn things blue and purple and pink. We've just started using all of those. My son loves them. Another great one is nice cream. Have you ever had nice cream?
I have. It's delicious.
Yeah, and that's 2 ingredients, and then you can, because that's basically a non-dairy milk and bananas that are frozen.
Avocado and non-dairy.
Oh
It was
yeah,
delicious.
avocado's good.
Yep.
Avocado and add some cacao powder into that.
It was so good. So when people are doing this and say they're super busy and they're like, there is no way I can prepare all these things. Like I got to grab things. I got to prepare ahead. What are some things that can go into the market now and grab to take as already done snacks or already done meals if they're getting home at 7 or 8 and they just want to eat and they don't want to grab something bad? What can they be grabbing that's healthy for them?
Some things that quinoa is always amazing because it takes less time than rice usually to cook, and it's protein packed. You can add that with a can of beans and some arugula, mix that up with some spices, and that's mega protein packed. You can add a little bit of corn to that, and all of this is just dumping it. You can make big bowls that last for a while.
I do. And have you ever done quinoa with apple juice? It's delicious. Instead of water.
Oh, I'm going to try
apple
that.
juice, and you put in, like I put in berries, like blackberries and blueberries in the spring, and some slivered almonds. And then that is my go-to all day long. I just make a gigantic bowl of it and I go in there and grab it all day. It's so sweet when you cook it in the apple juice.
Oh, nice. I love to make casseroles that are really easy. The quinoa casserole. So I just take a casserole dish. I take the quinoa, dump that in the dish. I take a bag of frozen corn, dump that in there, 2 different cans of beans, a can of tomatoes, and I mix that all around. I take a taco seasoning and then I bake it. It's 5 meals right there, and it's incredible. Super easy.
Laugh at me, but because I don't cook. But when you dump the quinoa in, is it cooked or not cooked?
Not cooked.
Okay, because I would have cooked it all.
Yeah. No, not cooked, and then you pour broth in there as well, and you just stick it in the oven.
Oh my gosh,
and you've only dumped, you don't even need to use another dish. You only need to use the casserole dish, because the least amount of dishes is the best.
I love that idea, because seriously, if you make something like that on a Sunday, put in the refrigerator, when you get home, you throw it in the oven, let it cook, and then kids are all ready for dinner and your meal's done. It
takes 5 minutes to prep and 30 minutes to cook in the oven, and you can make it a day ahead of time.
Wow.
Yeah.
But where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram right now and on Facebook as the Vegan Trailblazer. You can also find me, I'm the Crazy Trailblazer, and we have a website called crazytrailblazers.com. You can also find my work with our nonprofit Hope Fulfilled at hopefulfilled.org as well. So those are some of the places that you can find me.
Well, Amy, thank you so much for sharing all your juicy goodness with everybody. I hope everybody eats better in 2021, whether it's plant-based or you're just removing sodas from your diet, which I would love to see everybody do. But if you're just removing a few negative things, or you're like, I'm all in, and I'll give you a secret, you young people listening. When you get older, you're going to wish you were all in. Because what is your one regret now when you look back, Amy? Like, look back at your younger self. What would you tell your younger self?
Why didn't you listen to your body?
Yes. Like, I say to my younger self right now, I wish I would have loved you more and understood that you deserved, to have all these amazing things, and not take for granted that my health was always going to be available to me. Like, good health was always going to be. As you get older, you look back and say, I wish. So if you're younger and you're looking at stuff, by the way, the young kids today are smart. Like, they're really smart. They get this. And you're trying to make any changes, go to her website, grab some of her delicious recipes. Amy's got some amazing stuff on there. And reach out to her if you want to maybe figure out how to become all in. Thank you so much, Amy.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for listening to the Oh My Health, There Is Hope podcast. Make sure to visit Jana's website, bestholisticlife.com, where you can subscribe to the show on iTunes, Google Play, or listen there, so you'll never miss an episode. While you're at it, if you found value in the show, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes, or if you simply tell a friend about the show, that'll help too. Let's change the world together, one health expert at a time. Looking forward to seeing you next time.